Hello and welcome to another edition of the Touch Yourself show with Toyin and the gang. And with me is Maureen, who is back.
Hi.
Hi, Maureen. How are you?
Fine,
How's
I'm
your week?
doing good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Well,
So today
it's
we're going to be talking. Yes, today we're going to be talking about mothers, and this times mothers as caregivers of people with sickle cell. We've been celebrating women. There was the International Women's Day, and then there was the Mother's Day. I believe last Sunday. And funny enough, today I think is Happiness Day. Though I don't know, there's so much
yeah,
to
sat around. I kept wondering, happiness day.
happiness, exactly. What happiness day? Well, I suppose they are trying to get everybody to be happy. In times like this, it can be challenging. So we just have to keep putting out that smile, regardless of how things are going. Yeah. So today we're going to be celebrating mothers, and we'll be asking them questions. So if you're on this call, please share, bring people on, so that they can hear and experience what mothers go through when they're looking after the child and other things. Right, Maureen?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're
So we're
here
going
to
to be
learn
bringing,
from them.
yeah, so we're going to be bringing our guests on the show, and I'll bring both of them on, and then I'll do the short intro on them before we
Mm.
now kick off. Okay, so my first guest is not
Hi,
other than Tope Jemerigbe. Hi, Tope.
hi, Toyin. Hi,
Yeah,
Maureen.
yeah, she is for those of you who have been watching Sammy's program, you may not be unfamiliar with her, but I'll just do a short bio on her. She's the Chief Executive Officer, DKK Nigeria, a full-fledged integrated marketing communication organization. She has well over 22 years experience in top agencies, including Prima Garden Africa, STB McCain in the marketing and communication industry. And funny enough, my other guest is in that industry. I think it didn't even click.
Oh,
Oh.
really?
She's
Okay,
into
that's
branding and
interesting.
communication, and she's the CEO of Communication. I hope I got that right. Nkechi
Yes, you did. Squeeze coming.
and both of them are wonderful mothers of children with sickle cell or a child.
Oh, shit.
Okay, the audio is bad, but we'll work with it.
Hello, can you hear me, Toyin?
Yes.
Okay, I'm good then. I think Toyin froze.
Yes, I think so. Okay, so we'll just go ahead. I think she's done with the introduction, so we just go ahead with the show, depending when she comes back. Okay, so like we all know, today's show we're talking about um we're celebrating mothers, and then we'll be talking about how mothers have been the major source of support for people living with chronic illnesses such as sickle cell disorder. So I'll be asking, first of all, let me just start with how has the journey been so far? Coping with a child living with sickle cell. Either of you could go first.
Okay. Okay, perhaps I'll go. It's been, I think we've come a full circle,
Mm,
and forming another circle. I think when we first found out when Ruben was about 11 months, I mean, the initial shock, she used to be very sickly too,
no.
until maybe until specifically 2014.
Mm,
We used to at least have one or two visits to the hospital every month. And I think of particular reference would be when she was about 5, 6. She spent 6, 8 weeks, the last 6 weeks of the third term of our year 1 in the hospital. I think that was the turning point. I had studied and done a lot of things. We do have a doctor that consults with her in the UK and all that, but I just wanted something more permanent in terms of living a normal life. So that very time was when the journey really changed. We were able to take her abroad to tested, and that was when they introduced us to hydroxy. And that has really totally changed the experience. She hasn't slept in the hospital once since 2014 with crisis. She's had only mild, and that's mild pain even only started because of the hormonal changes. She's a girl, period started. I don't know why period will start so early for someone living with sickle cell and all of those. So I think that's when she started. Every time a period is almost coming, she has a little bit of issues here and there with pain, but it's not been anything too serious, and she's not had to be admitted at all since 2014.
Wow.
So that's why I said we've come a full circle and then going another circle now.
Wow, that's really amazing. That's really amazing. I don't know, Nkechi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I can.
I could see her expression.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you. And
okay, so
okay.
Yeah.
For me, the experience has been it's been challenging, and then we learn every day. You think you know it all, but then boom, something hits you, something you never thought was part of the experience will come up, and then you have to start trying to get a grasp on what is happening and all of that. And my son is young, yeah, but I think what has helped me this far is because as soon as we found out when he was about I think he was about 11 or 12 months, just a few weeks short of his first birthday. And then I just saw his fingers were swollen. I didn't know what it was. I thought he actually sprained his fingers or something. And here I was, trying to put a boniki and all sorts of things on it. Until I went to see, I went to see, my sister-in-law who is a doctor. And I asked her, what is this? And she said, oh, this looks like dactylitis. I'm like, what? What is that? When she told me, I was like, okay. I snapped out. Straight up, I went to work. And I haven't stopped. I went to the doctor. I went to the hematologist. What can I do? I'm not, okay, he has it, fine. There's no point brooding over it. The milk has spilled. Let's not pack it. Let's move on. How do we, I went in, head, hearts, legs, everything into it. And yeah, his, like Temitope said, hydroxyurea has been amazing. He has been on hydroxyurea since like October last year, and we really don't have, and he was lucky. While we went for our while we're having our hematology consultation, we found out that his fetal hemoglobin was high. So in order not to let it crash, the doctor just put him on oxyurea and said, listen, let's not even say, let us try to see if this thing will carry him. Put him on oxyurea, and it just, so yes, once in a while he has a bit of pain here, there, but it's nothing that can be managed at home, with normal, hot, his hot water bottle, his, paracetamol and all of that. And it's an experience. It's interesting. If I say it's interesting, people will wonder why, but it's an interesting, it actually tests you, your patience, your ability to, try and solve this thing on your own and with the help of doctors and all of that. But it's a good one. We're trying with the grace of God. We're doing a good job.
Yes.
Maureen.
I think
hello.
Okay, I think
Maureen froze,
but we can keep chatting. Yeah.
Yes.
What you said is quite an experience. The truth is, when I tell people as well that it's an interesting journey, people wonder how can you call such interesting, but it's taught me so many things. I usually would tell people that with any child, with any young one, you need to be careful. The only thing when
Yes.
you have a child living with a special condition is that you need that extra care, you know. And it's brought me here. It's brought me here in the sense that I'm very much involved in what's going on with other children, other mothers. I'm giving of
Mm-hmm.
myself and my substance. I mean, that's what brought me to Toyin, you know. And so the experience has really been yes. I mean, it was
Yeah.
quite initially shocking, but is something that one has learned how to
Oh, okay,
manage
okay.
it and how
I'll go
to
and
drill
so
down.
thank you very much.
I will always read and ask questions and all of that, just so that one gets better. As they grow, I mean, things change. Hormonal, all of those, you have to keep, they keep evolving, new things keep coming up. You're welcome back.
Hi, thank you. That's technology for you.
Yes,
Yes.
unfortunately.
So,
Yeah.
although I
Wow,
didn't
it's
quite
like you both.
yeah, you were about to say, Maureen.
No, I just wanted to say it's like they both have it all together and all under control. And I just hope people who are watching are learning and casting their fears away.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was telling, I think it was Nkechi I was talking to, that there was somebody who sent me a message panicking that there's this lady that she just found out that she had a child with sickle cell and she was crying in front of him and all that stuff. And it's interesting that you guys have been able to manage the situation, and that's why we brought people like you to be able to, allay fears of people, because the typical thing is that other people will go to them and say, didn't you know before you even entered the marriage? That's the typical statement. But like I always say, it's already happened. What is the plan? Learn what you should do and all that. So in trying to manage their situation, has there ever been a time that you've thought, oh boy, this is overwhelming, I don't think I can cope?
Actually, no, but I say that with every sense of responsibility, because a person who says, I don't think I can cope is not any less stronger than I am or whatever. I came from a place of decision. So when we first found out, she was 11 months, I think I found out my elder sister's son also lives with sickle cell about 2 months before I found out about my daughter. She had known about her child from birth, but I mean, it wasn't going to upset anybody in the family. I think when it was about 9 months, she then told us she lives in the UK. I cried so much that night because that was her only son she has to do. I cried a lot. And then a month later, I'm finding out my daughter lives with sickle cell. And I really did not cry. I could not cry anymore. I think I cried already so much for both of them. I cried for almost a week. So that by the time I found out about Bubemi, I was already reading for my sister. She was in the UK quite all right, but I just wanted to know what are the risks, what does that translate to. So I was already in a place of minimal knowledge by the time I found out. But that's not what actually has helped me to hold it together. It was a decision. Like you said, it wasn't the time for blame game. The minute we came over the shock, we're going to experience shock. So feeling like, wow, and all of that, yes. But immediately after that, it came from a place of decision. I brought it to this world with my husband. Whatever we're supposed to have done to prevent having a child with sickle cell, we did not do. It is our responsibility. So whatever happens at that time, I was combining work and hospital so seamlessly that one was not going to suffer for the other. So it was first anybody going through it, yes, it's overwhelming, but the is not overwhelming enough to ask myself, can I cope? I must cope. That's the reason I was saying I came first from a place of decision that I must cope with whatever comes with it. Yes, it can be overwhelming, but one is then going to just ensure that you put in whatever it takes, do some reading, determination and everything to get over that overwhelming state, if you understand what I mean. So yes,
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed. I used to be overwhelmed those times when she was so ill. But I didn't think I wouldn't cope because I thought I must cope with it. If I'm getting so frustrated with caring for her, what about the pain she is going through? You know,
Going through.
sometimes you imagine it and you're told that it's worse than labor pain. I know labor pain. So I begin to imagine, I don't even allow myself that time of, I'm so tired. So people are like, you are so strong. It's not that. I think I just already carry guilt in a positive way. Guilt in the sense of, is my responsibility. We did this. We brought her to this one. We must help. If I'm nagging that, what should the person carrying that pain? I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nkechi, what
Yeah.
about you?
Well, I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I say I'm tired. I don't think I want to do this. And I think, like Tope said, it's coming from a place of, decision. For me, my own experience is unique, but that's story for another day. Toyin, you know what I'm talking about. That story for another day. But but it's me decide, like you say, I'm looking at him. He's only my son is 4, and then he's crying and he's in that so much pain, and he's saying, "Mommy, please help me make this pain go away." All of that touches my heart, and I'm like almost crying and losing it, but I can't. I have to keep it together for this guy to know that, okay, mommy is here for you. Mommy is strong. Mommy is going to see you, through all of this. And I think having a good support system around me has actually helped me, cope with a lot of these. And I have doctors on speed dial that once he coughs, I'm calling them. Once he sneezes, I'm calling them. They know me already. They're always like, "Mom, what has happened this time around?" But it's me trying my best, because my decision was, I made this decision. I brought this guy here. He didn't ask to be brought here. Oh, in fact, he didn't ask for me to give birth to him in this condition. Oh, it was me, my selfishness that brought him here. And selfishness in the sense that I knew what the outcome, it was a 25% outcome for me, but I still went ahead and I said, okay, I was going to do it. And, so I try, everything I can to make sure that, he's going through the experience as best as, mommy can, give him that, comfort and all of that. And well, I'm a single mom. I'm doing this on my own, so it's sometimes it's tough, but we're in the language of Nigerian youths, we're moving. We move. We can't stop. We move. We move.
The truth is, for me, I mean, Toyin, to add to the question, there's certain pragmatic things that I did, very practical.
Okay.
One is everybody in the family, my mother, my side of the family, my husband's side of the family knows. There were things I read. I had an abridged document, gave to my mother. If my child is ever going to sleep over in your house, you need to understand that condition. My sister read it, my mother-in-law, and all of those. Then number 2 is the child herself. So from the age of like 1, 2, I was educating her as well, because those are very important things I wanted her to be able to deal with. The issue of stigmatization, the issue of caring for yourself, because mom is not going to be there every time. The issue of understanding. So those were, I kind of like pam like that. From the age of 2, she could take tablets instead of syrup, because then we used to get our medication from the UK. It was easier to bring in tablets. So there were just certain things. Do you understand? that one will do to help you also gain strength. When the people around you understand, then the weight of caring for the child when she is down or he is down is not 100% of you on you. If you are the only person that's got the the knowledge, then you can ask mommy so that you can take a bit of break to attend to work very quickly, which is important because you must keep the work, 2 incomes as a family so that you can afford the care that the child needs. So I just decided that everybody around me, so if she's my sister, once she says, my clinical is paining me, in fact, they had to tell her, don't use the word pain like that. You're not allowed to use the word pain anyhow, babe. You know what that means. Do you understand? So it's so much that I can send it to my sister's without worrying whether or not she's going to be fine, because they know almost as much as I do in caring for her. She's a mother herself. What if she's the one that had the child living with herself? So those are some of the ways, and it's what Nkechi referred to as a support structure. You know, we use support structure normally. You're supposed to even use, if you're a career person, you should have some sort of support structure. But now, specifically having a child with a special need, that situation becomes even more important.
Yes. And Nkechi, Tope mentioned something. He talked about telling people around her. I know there's sometimes when they want other people around them to know that they have children with sickle cell. You were giving me an example. Was when we were talking about a certain family. So, was that in your situation? And if it was not, how would you tell people, mothers, parents, in trying to understand that it's important for those around them, especially extended family, to know that their child has sickle cell?
Okay, for me, I didn't even think about not telling people because most times mommy is not going to be there and this child needs care. So everybody needs to understand at least the basic. We need to start giving some, basic kind of care before we can get to the hospital if we need to get to the hospital. So for me, it was quite, I just thought, but you know, for my, late husband, he was more like, let's keep it a secret. Let's not tell anybody. People might judge us. People might. But I'm like, I don't, listen, right now, I don't even care. This thing has happened. It has happened. We need to find a way to get everybody on board so that when we need this support, we're not Superman and Superwoman. We will need support at some point. And the sooner we get people to know about it, the better. My younger sister, she knows his drugs because there was a time I had to keep him with her for like, I think about 3 or 4 days, and she knows how to. I told her already, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, these are the things you need to do. My mother-in-law knows what to do. My mom knows what to do. My brothers, everybody knows what to do. So if you're trying to say, oh, I don't want people to judge me, you're not helping yourself and you're really not helping that child. My son already knows to drink there's sometimes he'll come and tell mommy, I've not had enough water today. Can I have some water? Because he knows. I went on my phone and I showed him what a sickled cell looks like and what a normal cell looks like. I showed him the cluster of the sickle cell and I said, see, this is what happens when you don't drink enough water. This clusters and then you have pain. So he knows. So he will tell mommy, no, I don't want that cluster pain. I want the round one, the one that is round, that is good. I don't want that one. So he knows, and then he knows his drugs. So when it's time, he will come and tell me, mommy, it's time for my drugs. So he knows, as in I've educated him well. Even in school, there are things they bring. You tell him, no, this one I can't do this. It's not good for me. It's not right for me. And they're always wondering, how do you know? My mommy said so. So I've been able to educate him, and and that's what I think people should do. Let people around you know. Find a neighbor, maybe one person that you can tell, because there's sometimes emergency situations will come up and you're not there, and this child needs this, care immediately, straight up. The person can start from somewhere before you come. that's in a situation where you don't live, you don't stay close to your, your family, either on your husband's side or on, your side. So what you must have one trusted person you can tell that this is the situation, this is what is happening, just in case anything comes up. Please, this is what we need to do first, and it'll make your life easier. Most of those people who I think are overwhelmed by it, that those who are bottling it up, they don't want people to know, they don't want to be judged, they don't want people to look at them with corner eye, that kind of thing. So you're internalizing everything, and it's really not, it's not going to help you. You will burn out. I'm telling you, you will burn out straight up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So I'd like to know for other parents out there, what has been, yes, you've talked about place of decision, how you decided on what to do, and steps you've all taken to ensure that everything works out. But what are your coping mechanisms?
Okay. Can I go?
If you have
Yes.
any tips
Yes, yes.
for other parents out there, yes.
Okay. I think what the biggest one for me, I mean, my daughter is 12, really, she'll be 13. So the first coping mechanism, which I mentioned earlier, is equipping her with knowledge herself. So I hold her as now she's held responsible for our medication. So I don't like every day. So when she's going to school or whatever, I can just say, did you take your medication? Have you? Because I mean, as you begin to grow in years and all of those, you will need to be dealing with certain things by yourself. That's one for me. Another one for me is acceptance. So coping with the fact that she lives with sickle cell is something that I think is easier when one owns it. It's a condition you can't do anything about. We're trusting God. I mean, we're Christians. We hear some other people who's testified about the change of genotype and everything, and we're faithing it as well. But I'm not, perhaps, maybe even talking about it sometimes is almost like, are you really in faith? But I said I'm not going to be in faith foolish enough not to take steps until the healing comes. That's the truth.
Exactly.
Until the healing comes. I know one of the things that is wrong with us, and which is why I said I'm bringing it up, is the issue of our religion and societal pressure. Can't you trust God? Can't you believe enough? Some friends call me legitimately and genuinely concerned. I'm trusting God along with you. I'm fasting with you. We're praying about it. And somebody once suggested to me, don't let her take her medications. I said, if that is the measurement of faith, call me on that I don't have faith. But to stop her medication, do you understand? So coping is, once you start owning it, you own the situation. I can talk, I'm talking to people, and I know, because I have a child living with sickle cell, and people, you talk about it so easy. I said, if one doesn't, you begin to, because your job is not as much as the one the child herself is going to do eventually. By the time you care for that child until she becomes a teenager, from like now she's in school, you're not in school with her. If she's ashamed of herself, she won't tell her peers, she would do things she shouldn't do. And so the way that I've been able to cope with it is first the level of acceptance, refusal from letting cultural pressure or other people's line of faith or belief affect me, putting those support structures in place, then gaining knowledge. Gaining knowledge and gaining knowledge. So as she was growing, I'd read so much. There was one book, Toyin will remember, it's almost 180 something pages.
I couldn't finish it.
That we read, but that was when she was like 3, when she was like 4. I met Toyin when she was, before she turned 1. Immediately I found out. But now that she's now moving to that new level, I had to call up that book again. and start reading. What is this? What are the whatever? Why is this? Knowledge is important. Okay, for some who are caring for children with sickle cell, they may not actually be able to read. It may mean that they just need to sit around people like us, which is one of the reasons we do the mothers session in Sami, where we now try to speak in Yoruba and we speak in Pidgin, although they've told me not to try and speak in Pidgin, even when I went for the radio program. But just try to get knowledge. That's another coping mechanism. Knowledge so that you know what to do. I mean, those are the ways I've coped.
What about you?
Well, same thing with as Tope said, is knowledge. One, I mean, you can't get enough of that because every day there's something new, out there. Every day there's something new, so you have to keep abreast with it. Some of the things will come in handy. Some of them will just be there, will just be information there. Okay, it's there. So, and another thing is, like my son, I've explained to him what I told him is, say, you were born with this condition. It's a blood. It's a blood disorder. It's just a blood disorder. As it doesn't stop you from living a full life, because there are worse things out there than being born with sickle cell. There are worse things out there, but this is it. And then educate, like she said, educate the child, let the child get to know me, keep have equip myself with all I need to know, and then take advantage of the many resources out there. I know someone who, when I went to register my son with the foundation, I know someone who said, I can never go there. Do you know the caliber of people who come to that place? They are the bottom of the society. They're the ones who go there. And I'm like, what's my business? My own is to go and take advantage of what is there to give my son, give him a healthy life. I don't care if the people there at the bottom, but what's my own with them? And I've had that kind of, things. And people, like where I stay, I have this thing I run with Toyin, a clinic, an outreach clinic. And I have had mothers, fathers come to me and make some statements that I'm like, for real? Like, really? How? And when you try to explain to them, like you say, religion has kind of, I'm very, not so, because it has made a lot of people blind. Do you get? I've actually had someone tell me that her pastor told them to test God. Let us test God with this child situation. Auntie, how do you, I don't understand. How does your brain allow you? The pastor is not going to go through all the sleepless nights you go through. The pastor is not going to be there, he's not going to go through the pain the child will go through. The pastor won't be there. The child will be out of school for probably 1 week, if not more. And then, the emotional and mental torture of going, why would you even put a child through that? Because a pastor is telling you, let us test God. He can go and test God in his altar, but not with my child. Go and, and she was like, then when we did it, the child, nothing happened to the child. And I'm like, okay, so what happened? Say, but 1 week after, this child just scattered. The child, we were in hospital for like 3 weeks. And I'm like, really? So why did you even do it? Because your pastor says you should do it, and then you do it. So for religion, people say, God forbid, it's not my portion. I have Maureen, the last outreach we did, there was a lady, my son's teacher, she has 2. Oh, I didn't tell you, she has a 3rd child now. And she has a 3rd child now. Now she has two girls, and they're both, SS, and then she has a 3rd child. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, why did you go and have a third child? And say, Augustine will try again. Maybe he go work this time. I'm like, are you playing Kalu Kalu? What is he go work this time? I don't get it. How do you guys do this kind of thing? No matter now, that woman, what you tell her, she'll tell you, it's not my portion. It's not my portion. God will help us. God will see us through. Now, I'm not saying God won't help us. I'm not saying God won't see us through. But heaven helps those who help themselves. You must start helping yourself from somewhere. Even before God will say, okay, this is my child, you're doing a great job. But yeah, let me put hand in your matter. You don't just leave everything and then, and you expect God to come and then parents. So okay, let me tell you something. A few years ago, yeah, a cousin of mine had a daughter who was SS, and then she calls me on the phone and says, that she has a daughter who is SS1, and that this, that, da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay, so what do you want to do? So she doesn't know that she's thinking. And then a year later, my mom calls me and says, oh, do you know that your cousin had a baby? I'm like, yeah, my cousin had a baby. Say, yeah. I said, okay. I called my cousin, I said, I heard you had a baby. She said, yes. I said, why did you have a baby? I thought you stopped with, your daughter. She said, no, that we gave birth to a replacement. We gave birth to a replacement baby. And I'm like, what is a replacement baby? Say, in case that one died, that this one will now replace her. Now, you see, let me tell you, God just, when he wants to deal with you, he totally messes you up. Now, the first one is a sickler. The replacement baby is now a sickler. So I now teased that and I said, okay, now that you know that are you going to have another replacement baby that will replace the replacement baby, And she says that in fact right now she doesn't even know what she's going to do. And I'm like, there's nothing you can do. You shouldn't have even gone any further. You should have just stopped at this one and manage that the best you can, instead of having all this replacement baby that you're replacing to replace another baby that you're going to replace. I mean, that's too complicated. It's because people don't really understand and they don't want to take advantage of the resources out there. Like I keep telling them when they come to me, there's so much there. There's so much. You go on the internet, there's so much. You go to the foundation, there's so much information. The people you can call up, the people you can talk to, there are doctors you can go to, and it's just that people refuse to take advantage of it. And then they come to me, like in my son's school, there's a girl, she's also in my son's class, and then the mother comes to me every day and she asks me, she'll say, Mommy Momori, your son is so healthy, his eyes are so white. I'm like, stop before you project something into my son, stop looking at him. She's like, no matter what I do to my daughter, she does. I said, because you refuse to do what needs to be done. I've told you to the hospital, register your child, in the clinic, ask them if they have a clinic, a sickle cell clinic, register your child and go. Once she's been giving drugs, give the child the drugs that have been, her routine drugs. There are things you need to do that are not so expensive. And then child will find every day. Toyin, that's the lady I told you that keeps giving her child what's it?
Antibiotics and malaria tablets.
She gives her child blood tonic. Antibiotics, thank you. Every month, this child is on antibiotics and malaria meds. Every month. And I keep telling her that this is not, you're killing this child, but you don't know. Do you get? Sorry, I have to. And then she's like, and you're asking me, I can't do everything for you people. It's not possible. I can only share the much I have because I don't even have too much information. It's just the small information I gather that I'm using to manage my life. So I'm generous enough to share it. And you guys, I'll expect you guys take, advantage of it and move on. But hey, they want, see, what I've noticed is that people don't want to do the work. They want you to do it for them. Yeah? They want you to do the work for them. They don't want to do the work at all. Like I told you that lady, I told her, okay, I use the clinic in Massey. Now, I chose to do Massey because Massey is pediatrics and my son is 4. So let's just be dealing with the pediatric right now. Let pediatrics be dealing, pediatricians be dealing with him until he gets to when he needs to go to, the adult doctors. And then, I offered to take her with me And she's not, she does, a few times we've, booked an appointment. She doesn't show up. Next thing she'll tell me that her husband did not drop transport money, so she cannot go. Hey, but I'm offering to drive you. She said, when you read there, whatever they write for you, just bring it. We'll go to chemist and buy it. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
I won't.
it's not the same.
Oh my God.
It's not the same. Why would I? You will call me, say, which medicine are you giving him? Write it out for me. I'll go to chemist. I said, it's not the same. It's not. You need to go and see a doctor. They need to run series of tests, and then you can what do you call it? And then they will place you on what will work for your child. But people are just lazy. They want you to do the work for them. So no matter how much, even if you bring the information, right here, right in front of them, they will still act like as if they don't know what you're talking about. So but for me, I take advantage of everything. Both Orthodox and in fact any other thing. I've had a friend come to me say, in fact, there's one man in Abuja, he cures it. She was so dramatic. He cures it. Let me give you his number. He will just give you one or two things that he will drink. He will just cure everything. I say, they cure it. They cure. He say, yes, in Abuja. I say, thank you. It's so, you're coming from I understand that you're coming from a place of caring for the child, but come on, don't feed me information that you tell me that the child will have. I've had so many experiences, and for me, my own is, me, I live in Adubo. I live in where they call Toyin, where I stay. I meet all sorts of people. I've met a woman before who had, a woman, she lost that baby. That baby was 3. That child was 3, and he had, I think his spleen, something happened to his spleen, and then they took him to one babalawo or something, and then the person was burning hot leaves, and placing on the child's spleen. She lost that child, a 3-year-old boy.
The truth is, I'm not even sure it's about the Adubo where you stay. I think it's how much you equip yourself that will determine whether you will be running from pillar to post. I have a cousin whose child was started on hydroxy, and then I said, did you do the initial base this and all of those things, and then you need to be testing so you know the child's steady state. I was asking those questions
6 months after,
and yes, and then he said no, and all of that. My worry, told me the hospital. I don't want to begin to mention names. And about some 1 year or 8 months or whatever, he said they have increased his dose. I'm like, increase his dose on what basis? On what grounds? Did they this? Did they? I was asking those questions. He did lose that child. I felt really bad. He's not living in Anadubo. He stays in Surulere. He's educated. He's whatever. So at the end of the day, the essence of knowledge, and which is why I'm saying to people, and I go say I'm for pidgin, the reason where you supposed to know, that say make you know they run from pillar to post. You at least have a knowledge, and you know where to go. Do you understand? You may not. The reason I said earlier that I also would not condemn parents who feel otherwise is I'm going to recognize the place of privilege for us as well. You're already very educated, you're already a little exposed, you have this access and all of that. But even at that, when that is not your situation, go to places where they can help your limited knowledge. Where they can, you spoke about going to Sickle Cell Foundation now. I went to Sickle Cell Foundation as well. Why? Because that is the only place, at that I don't know anywhere else now, that does transcranial Doppler. They want to check how much the child is prone to stroke or
to stroke.
So when you sit on your eye horses, and that's the only place where you can get it, you will stand a chance of risking the child's life. And it's not, and the reason I'm also saying it's not about an Adubo. Toyin, we have a friend who said and was talking to Toyin. She'll call Toyin and say, "Oh, somebody said so. Apparently, it was a child. To admit that it was a child, Toyin was shocked. I was the one who told her that our child is sick. And Toyin was like, no. She calls me. I don't know whether Toyin remembers. She calls
Yeah,
me
remember.
every now and then. She says she wants to know what to do with whatever. So when I saw her and we were talking, and I freely told her about Rubemi, that was when she admitted and said, but that her parents don't know or whatever. At that time, her first
My
daughter is
in-law
older than
doesn't
my
know.
my child. And I had to be like, you know what you have done? You have deprived your child the opportunity to spend Christmases with grandma, because you are, hoarding information that is not whatever. She ended up having 2 children living with sickle cell. She did a bone marrow transplant for one because they had a match, but the other they couldn't. But what I'm saying is the place of knowing, wanting to know, ask those who know if you don't have access. Join
No.
NGOs like Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative, Sickle Cell Foundation. They talk, they come, we go down to the level of anybody. Do you understand? We had a radio program that was running at that time, strictly in Pidgin. So no matter how much English where they speak, you come there, you must speak in Pidgin. You must. Why?
Pigeon.
Because we understand the broadness of the people with the challenge. The challenge is you get, and then there's support as well. You support with the medication you need because you can't afford it. We know the place of affordability as well. To some, it's okay. The cost is not so much, but if we have so many people that live under $1 a day, you can imagine how difficult it will be to afford the medication.
To
So I
afford.
think just
Yeah.
equipping ourselves with knowledge and seeking to know, wanting to know, make you they look for information. They look for them. They go anywhere. Waiting they talk here for sickle cell now. Waiting they happen about sickle cell now. New knowledge, just seeking it. It's one of the more critical ways to handle the challenge. And anybody that has a child that has a special need, find out, drill down about that challenge so that you can make life better for the child and ultimately even for you.
So
Yeah, there's one thing when you are talking, there's one question that I just thought about, and which I see parents do, mothers, even fathers do, and that's the extreme of overprotection or the extreme of I don't know what the opposite of overprotection, where they feel that what is wrong with you? You should be able to do X, Y, and Z. You should be able to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro and go and fetch water from me. What would you say, just in a few words, what would you say to those kind of parents where they do the extreme of both things?
Me.
You will,
Okay,
go
should
ahead.
I
Yes,
go? Okay.
yes, please.
For me, I think again is lack of knowledge. So when you get extremely protective, by the time you are not there, this child is going to fall by the wayside because she has no idea. You get the child involved up onto the point where his body can allow him. So I'll tell you, a story. My daughter went to summer school in another school where she doesn't school when she was around 4 or 5, and they were going to serve them vegetable and eba for lunch. Of course, she wasn't interested in swallow. She wanted something else.
Yeah.
And she told them, I don't want to eat. I'm not supposed to eat it. The teacher was saying, what do you mean you're not supposed to? She said, because I have special blood. We used to, when she was younger, we called sickle cell special blood. The sickle cell
special
is
blood.
only different from the others because it has certain peculiarities to it. And the teacher said, what do you mean? Every child here lives with, has a special blood. Let no child feel like. She said, I'm not just feeling like, I live with sickle cell. And if I have too much iron in my body, I would what she was educating the of course it's not the vegetable in iron. It's not the iron in
It's not
vegetable they're talking about. But they
vegetable
ended up having to make noodles for her. She went to
for
school as
her.
well at some point. Yes. She went to school every time she changes class. Particularly when she was in primary school and she did not know, I sit down with a new teacher. I give them that 4-page that bridge document that I have. Please read it and understand the basics. The other day she said she was punished. A teacher told them to kneel down. Her knee was hurting. I said, at some point, you really should have gotten up and respectfully told the teacher. that because I live with sickle cell, I must be extra careful with. So it's a balance. I'm not going to be overprotective, and I'm also not going to challenge you with things that I have an idea you really may not be able to handle. So yes, you should be able to swim, but you should be able to tell when your body is telling you you're stretching it. When you and your friends are going out, your friends must be as knowledgeable about you, so that when you say, I'm cold, they know that, for Gubemi's sake, let's end it. Or maybe Gubemi, okay, do you know what, we'll go and drop you, we'll go and whatever. So there's no overprotection, and there's no it's denial that makes us feel you can do it. You have the ability when the body has already told you, I cannot. I live with sickle cell, and so because of that, I cannot. That is just a balance, and it's a place. Again, it always comes back to knowledge, accepting the condition, understanding what the limits should be for you. The limit for one child living with sickle cell is different from another. When Nkechi was speaking, she said a child has high level of
Fetal
fetal
hemoglobin.
hemoglobin. Having high level of fetal hemoglobin means it's going to live a much stronger and better life than one who doesn't have at all, which is the essence of hydroxyurea. So if you look at it at the end of the day, if our own child is strong enough to carry one bag full of whatever, and another child living with sickle cell can't, then people begin to, there are times that teachers have told students that you're just being lazy. You understand? There was a parent that came to me and said the teacher told the child, and so what should she do? I gave her that thing. I said, you will have to go and sit down and educate the teacher. If she tells you she's tired, please take it that she's tired. Please understand. They play also. That's the truth. My daughter last week said, oh, she had an infection, and so we're treating. I woke up in the morning. Oh, it's time for school, mommy. I can feel some pain on my other side. I say, go ahead and sleep. We'll miss school today. When she woke up eventually at 8:30 to join school online, she then started saying, can they drop her in school? I said, unfortunately, nobody's going to be able to drop you. Then my sister looked at her and said, Gubemi, she started laughing. So they really do play us every now and then because they know they'll get away with it. But you really also can't toy with it. If my son that doesn't live with sickle cell told me he needed, his feet was hurting, he had whatever thing, he needed this, I just thought, oh God, the hemophilia come again. It's because of his spots, whatever. By the time we saw an orthopedic doctor, I told my sister, I said, don't mind him. I got cross with him for football, so, and all that. But by the time he was seeing the orthopedic doctor, he had to do an MRI. By today, we were taking steroids on that same leg. So what I'm saying is when a child comes to you, don't doubt what they have told you. First, believe them. You might find out eventually they played you, but please first believe. You must first believe and take an action towards helping, and then discover that this child was just maneuvering, or was just being smart. And then you know that, but doesn't mean because she's been smart today, tomorrow you're going to say, no, that was what you told me the last time. No, every time the child comes to tell you this is wrong with, because you do not know when it will actually be true. It happened in Queen's College, if you remember. A child that said, my tummy is really aching, and they said, come on, go to sleep. They lost the child. So it is, you must take it from, she says she can't. Oh, you can. You have a God-given ability. You are strong. We'll be saying, make confession. Yes, we'll make those confessions. I tell my daughter to live with confession. I live in sound health in Jesus' name. I am this. But I am not going to be foolish enough to tell her to do that. She says she wants to play basketball. She was interested in sports, brother football, this. Mommy, you are not supporting my dream. And I told her, I said, Gubemi, because there's she went online, she read about people that are living with the condition and are attaining sports heights and everything. And I said, where do they live? One lives in America, told me about the one that I said, that's exactly my point. If anything were to happen, there's better medical care. There's what I just use that to disabuse her mind. So support is important, but you must come from the place of first trying to help this child before you push the child too much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very much. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It seems Nkechi dropped out, but even our time is fast. we've practically
Yeah.
spent an hour here. Thank everybody for watching. It's been, in fact, I could go. I had even other questions. That sometimes when you guys talk, I something else pops in my mind, and I realize you can't be here for more than an hour.
Yes, totally.
45 minutes is really our max, but we stretch it to an hour. And so we just thank you for educating us. And if you
Thanks for having me.
just one sentence to a parent on or just to give hope, what would you say? Your final
Yeah,
words.
I was basically say that a child living in a sickle cell is not a death sentence. They can live a normal life, even when they've had challenges. Toyin is a testimony. First time I met her, I always told her, "You are a testimony." When she turned 50, some 5 years ago, I remember kneeling before mommy and saying, "I received grace from you that my child would also." Do you understand? So it's not a death sentence. It's just encouraging everybody to give it what it takes to raise a child. Any child in the first place needs to be given care. You understand? Just do that little extra, and God will seal it with His grace. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, seems okay. I think she was on the. Let me see. She's trying to hang on.
She's coming
Nkechi,
back.
before we
Yeah.
round up, last word from you. If your network is still good.
Oh, okay. My network is horrible. I don't know what happened. It just
Yeah. So just the last word to encourage
okay.
people out there.
Okay. All right. What I'll tell parents, especially mothers, is this: if you find out that your child has, sickle cell, take some time to, get over the shock. But I'll advise that you don't do that for too long because at the end of the day, every mother wants to give their child as much, wants to give their child as much, normal, childhood as possible. So take time, brood over it, get over it as quickly as you can, and then start looking for help. Don't be ashamed, don't be shy. People will always talk. You do good, they go talk. You do bad talk. So just, find help for because if your child is happy, healthy, and you're doing, the things you want to do. So
Yeah.
find help, hook up with people who know. Don't be ashamed to go to the places where, you think you will find this help. And please, if you stick to whatever your doctor tells you to do. Don't go outside there and go to chemist and say one chemist say this one is not correct. I've heard it so many times. No, Toyin, you're laughing. I've heard it so many times. You know that
Yeah.
I run, an initiative for children living with sickle cell. So I've heard it. Doctor will say, give the child 5 ml. Chemist will say, give the child 10 ml. And the doctor will say, the chemist say I should give them 10 ml. Doctor don't know what they're talking. And all of that. Stick to what your doctor tells you to do. And then, you're laughing. Try as much as possible. Read up, read. If the thing where you don't understand, ask. In my place, we have a saying that "Onya juju anahe fuzo," meaning a person who constantly asks questions and directions never gets lost. You will always find someone who can, put you through and give you the answers you need to help you out. And love your child. He or she is your child. Love that child unconditionally. But don't favor the child above, the other kids. Love the child. Let the child understand, why he or she. Don't just say, oh, don't go and play football. No, explain to them why they or if you have to play, you can only play football for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. You can't play the full 90 minutes. No, because you can't cope. Your body can't cope with that, level of stress. So let's try. These kids are actually, more intelligent than we give them credit for. They understand a whole lot of things that than us that are adults. You think that, oh, my child
Yeah.
don't understand. No, he does understand. Really, he does.
Mm.
And because he wears the shoe and he goes through this pain, he doesn't want even that pain to come. He doesn't want it. So try as much as possible to, educate yourself,
Thank
educate the
you.
child, stick to what your doctor says you should do, and all of that.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been an interesting edition, and thank you for those of you who joined us. I know they were coming in data issues, I know, but I'm sure you got quite a bit of information for all that you heard, and please spread the word to mothers. There's no reason to fear parents. There's no reason to fear mothers. Just be informed. Hold your information in your hand and act accordingly. Thank you so much, Nkechi and Tope. Over to you, Maureen.
Thank you. Thank
I'll
you for having
close
me.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toyin.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
So this has been a production of Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative. And do not forget, same time next week, same place.
Yes.
Don't forget, invite someone, spread the word,
Yeah. Yes.
and you can always go back and catch up on this on Facebook and our YouTube channel. You can go back and catch up anytime.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Till we come your way again, this has been a production